Okay. Go ahead. The Kikuyu turned violent during the Mau Mau uprising. Kenyatta imprisoned by the British despite being a moderate. This is the most famous uprising in the African independence movement. That's in Kenya. The Mau Mau uprising. Kenya, Kenya, Kenya. We are determined to have independence in peace, and we shall not allow hooligans to rule Kenya. We must have no hatred towards one another. Mau Mau was a disease which had been eradicated and must never be remembered again. Kenyatta. Kenya was given independence, and Kenyatta became president soon. Soon he had complete control of Kenya. He had complete control of Kenya. Meaning what? Started to become a strong-arm ruler. France gave African colonies the choice to remain in French Empire or independence. Many remained in the empire for economic benefits. Algeria did not. Go ahead. The French colony of Algeria began War of Independence. Many French people lived in Algeria, complicating the independence effort. Do you understand? People settled there, and they had been there for generations, so they tried to be like, no, this is us now. That is it. That's us. Go ahead. Plus, Algeria is on the Mediterranean. They want to make it a permanent French colony. The independence movement led by the National Liberation Front, which used guerrilla tactics to fight the French. What's guerrilla tactics? Well, it's not really trees anymore. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, what does guerrilla warfare mean?
It's just not like...
Where? Urban. It's urban. It's urban. It's people in houses and buildings and everything else, and you don't know the difference about who is who and who's safe and who's not. Go ahead. Algeria granted independence. Intense violence broke out as FLN forces killed up to 150,000 French people. From 58 to 62, the war rages. Go ahead. And then, after they got independence, from 63 to 78, what? Strong-arm rulers. The dictatorship, but military overthrows and religious tensions between Muslims and Christians intensified. Angola, independent after war with Portugal. Civil war between them lasted until 2002. I mean, it's just the same story. You don't have to know all of them. I would know Ghana. I would know Kenya. And who else did I say? Algeria with the French. Each color represents a different ethnic group in Angola. All of them wanting to be the rulers. Go ahead. British forces left the Suez Canal zone, and then Egypt's Gamal Abdel Nasser nationalized the canal. So, do you understand? The canal had been in the hands of the British ever since 1887 or something like that. And then Gamal Abdel Nasser took over. Gamal Abdel Nasser, you have to know, because of Arab nationalism. Guess what he wanted? The lines from the Sykes-Picot Agreement, what? Arab nationalism says, get rid of them. All Arabs are one people. We aren't Saudi, they are ethnically, but we are all Arab population. They are not what? Two very different peoples. Who are the ones that are often battling each other? In the World War I. Turks and Arabs. Well, they're all Muslim. Turks and Arabs. Turks and Arabs, they fought against each other in World War I. So Turks and Arabs are different peoples. Go ahead. That's the Suez Canal. We shall defend the Suez Canal with our blood and strength, and we shall meet aggression with aggression and evil with evil. We will defend the grains of sand in the desert to the last drop of our blood. This is ours, and we will keep it. Suez Crisis occurred when British, France, and Israel seized the canal. Eventually, forces withdrew, and Egypt retained control. British, France, and Israel in 1950. Guess why it didn't work? Guess who didn't help? The United States of America. The United States of America was not on board. And since we didn't help, what? Then the Europeans lost. Go ahead. Go ahead. Nasser defied the West by accepting financial aid from the Soviet Union to build the Aswan Dam on the Nile River. Go ahead. Okay. That's Vietnam, right? Laos, Cambodia. Southeast Asian nations gained their independence in the decades after World War II. Go ahead. Burma, Sri Lanka, Malaysia gained independence from Britain. Burma is called Myanmar today. Oh, Myanmar remained poor with ethnic tensions led by repressive militaries. Go ahead. Gangs. Aung San Suu Kyi, I don't know, led opposition party against military rule. She spent 15 years detained as a result. Go ahead. It's the same story for all of the earth, right? All of the people trying to get independence, what? Strong arm leaders taken over by other strong arm leaders. Go ahead. Following them. Following the Rohingya, they were literally trying to exterminate them. Genocide. Planes. Trying to exterminate them. They were fleeing because they were literally just being shot and killed. Go ahead. Philippines gained independence from U.S. in 46, and Indonesia broke free from the Dutch in 49.
We have Special Olympics tomorrow morning and have had a few other teachers and staff bring t-shirts to support our students.
When was the Philippines just the Philippines? Before King Philip. 1515 or something like that? 1515 or something like that? Go back. 1515 or something like that? And then Indonesia was Java and the Spice Islands. Same thing for hundreds of years. Hundreds and hundreds of years. Go ahead. The Vietnamese, led by Ho Chi Minh, defeated the French in the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, earning its independence in 1954. You have to know that the Indochina War was 46 to 54, and then the French gave up. Remember, the French were not even in power in 45. Who was in power there in 45? During the war, World War II. Who had taken over all of Asia? Japan. Japan had taken over all of Asia. So they were taken over by Asia, but then as soon as Japan was defeated and became occupied by the United States of America, who went rushing back? The French. And then the war happened for 8 years and they finally gave up. They weren't going to win that war. But then what did we do? Truman Doctrine says, go in and take over Vietnam because we've got to contain communism. And then the one person that was thinking about getting out gets assassinated November 22nd, 63. The one person that was thinking about taking us out of the Vietnam War, JFK, assassinated in 63. Go ahead. Go ahead. Ho Chi Minh is an independence hero. His communist forces controlled North Vietnam and the French, and U.S. supported the democratic government in the South. Go ahead. He became center of great Cold War tensions, culminating in Vietnam War, 55 to 73, because it starts theoretically as soon as what? As soon as the French left. Go ahead. Remember, the storm is a good opportunity for the pine and the cypress to show their strength and their stability. That's his people. They survived it. Again, the Gulf of Tonkin was a false flag. What didn't happen in the Gulf of Tonkin? American ships did not get attacked, but at the time, what? For years. They said it happened, and so therefore, we went into Vietnam. What year is it? 64. Who's dead? JFK. JFK is dead, and then the Gulf of Tonkin did not really happen, but they said it did, and then here we are in Vietnam. Go ahead. Within a year, 250,000 troops in Vietnam. What's it called? The birthday draft. Did we talk about it in here? The birthday draft? Okay. Communists in the north, Viet Cong in the south. Go ahead. And then the deployment, we saw that dramatically increased efforts in Vietnam. Hot landing zones. We didn't have any territorial goal. We didn't know who the enemy was. We didn't know who was what. There's no way we're winning this. Go ahead. Napalm and Agent Orange, like devastating. The My Lai massacre. Go ahead. We killed children and old people. Go ahead. This is what's weird about these PowerPoints. It's the same thing. Yeah. North Vietnamese successfully launched a Tet Offensive, but it was brutal and it was on our TV, and it turned the American population against the war. Nixon does this Vietnamization. Remember, probably turning the bodies. Go to the next slide. Changing the color of the bodies. 75 in Saigon, all of the airports, and everybody's trying to get out because if they don't, they're going to be killed. Go ahead. Canada and the Quiet Revolution. Go ahead. This isn't on the test. Nobody cares about this. Granted Canadian provinces degree of home rule, avoiding another revolution, and now today still Canada what? King Charles. King Charles still today. Go ahead. Oh wait, what does it say? Oh, mostly British was former French colony with large French minority. This division makes national identity problems. In Quebec, who knows that they speak French in Quebec?
Yeah.
Go ahead. The British North American Act joined Quebec, Ontario, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick together as the Dominion of Canada, still a territory of Britain. Canada granted independence after a series of agreements with Britain. Canada remains part of the British Commonwealth. Quebec is Canada's largest, oldest, and most French province, and has expressed some interest in independence. Go ahead. The Quiet Revolution saw significant reforms in Quebec and a growing desire for independence. Go ahead. Some French Canadians resorted to terrorism. And then Trudeau, who is still today, oh no, that's his father, brokered a peace, and a 1995 vote for independence narrowly failed. Good. What slide is that?
3 and 4.
3 or 4. So I got to get through 150 slides tomorrow. Bye.